Today, we are diving into Apple's latest flagship, the iPhone 17 Pro. But let me make something clear right away, this is not going to be just another typical unboxing video. No, we are talking about the real-world surprises Apple didn't highlight on stage, the subtle but important upgrades that actually change how you use the phone, and yes, the small details that might even affect your buying decision. From the design changes to hidden camera tricks, battery behavior, and performance under heavy pressure, this phone has plenty of secrets worth knowing. Hey everyone, welcome back to ZaidiEsTech. You are here with Zahid, and today we're about to take a very close look at the iPhone 17 Pro. Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what Apple isn't telling you about this phone and whether those hidden changes are worth your money. Unboxing experience. Let's start where every iPhone journey begins, the box. Stop, put the wallet down, and take those hype goggles off for a moment, because the iPhone 17 Pro has just landed on my desk, and there are definitely some things Apple didn't shout about that you'll want to know before you tap that buy button. Cracking the seal on this box feels like theater. Apple has perfected the packaging experience to the point where it's like a silent performance. The matte white box has this clean silhouette of the phone printed on top, almost like a piece of artwork you'd see in a gallery. Pulling on the rip tab is strangely satisfying. It's the kind of little detail Apple knows people look forward to. Lift the lid, and the phone is sitting right at the top, almost like a spotlight reveal. Underneath, you get the minimal paperwork that Apple insists on including, crowned by a single Apple sticker. And yes, still no charger in the box. It's 2025, so this shouldn't shock anyone anymore, but it does feel a little like buying a car and the dealer telling you to bring your own gas. What you do get is a braided USB-C cable, which feels a lot sturdier than before. It's got better flexibility and bend resistance compared to past cables, and that small detail makes a difference if you charge on the go. There's also a SIM ejector tool in some regions, depending on where you live, and the usual slim stack of paperwork. That's it. So yes, welcome to Apple's future. Bring your own charging brick. First impressions and design. Now, let's get to the phone itself, because this is where the excitement begins. Peel off the protective film, and the very first oh wow moment is the finish. Apple calls this new material something like satin titanium, but in the hand, it feels more like liquid metal that went through finishing school. It's not the shiny mirror effect we remember from stainless steel iPhones. Instead, this is a softly diffused, fingerprint-resistant sheen that looks premium without being flashy. The rounded edges are subtle but meaningful. Gone are the sharp, boxy corners that could sometimes dig into your palms. The weight distribution is also something Apple clearly focused on. Some big phones feel like you're holding a screen with a battery awkwardly glued on the back. Not this one. The iPhone 17 Pro feels centered and balanced, and that makes it much more comfortable to hold. Tap the frame, and you'll notice how tight the tolerances are. There's no flex when you gently twist it. It feels like precision engineering, almost like a piece of jewelry that just happens to also run your digital life. Camera design. Flip the phone over, and here's the big headline change, the horizontal camera bar. Yes, Apple actually went for it. Instead of the familiar triangular stovetop design, we now have a sleek slab running across the back, almost like a visor. Some people will say Apple copied the Pixel, but in reality, this implementation is very different. The bar is thinner than you'd expect, the glass curves into the back smoothly, and it gives Apple the real estate it needs for two periscope telephoto modules along with a larger ultra-wide sensor. The result is practical too. Put the phone flat on a desk, and finally, it doesn't wobble like an unstable table at a restaurant. It sits flat, it looks symmetrical, and it feels purposeful. Small detail, big win. Display. Wake the screen, and surprise number 2 arrives. The bezels are almost invisible. But it's not just about how thin they are, it's about how the corners of the display perfectly mirror the curves of the chassis. It's a subtle design choice, but it makes the phone look more seamless and polished. And then there's the brightness. Outdoor brightness on this display is so high that you actually feel the heat on your face if you're holding it under the sun. Apple's motion tuning is still unmatched. The 120Hz refresh rate doesn't just look smooth, it feels predictive. Text snaps into focus mid-scroll, like the phone is anticipating where your eyes are going. Compared to older iPhones or even some newer Android flagships, the frame pacing and touch response here are practically invisible. You don't think about whether a tap registered or whether the screen skipped a frame, it just feels like an extension of your thoughts. That's how smooth it is. Battery and standby efficiency. Now here's something Apple didn't put on their slides but you'll notice immediately. Out of the box, the iPhone 17 Pro ships with a much more aggressive standby power-saving system. The phone barely sips power when it's not in use. This means that when you go to bed and wake up the next morning, your battery percentage looks like the graph just forgot to update. Apple calls it efficiency gains, but what's really happening is that the phone is shutting down background tasks intelligently and only waking for important events. The result is brilliant battery life, especially if you're someone who doesn't want to constantly think about charging. Camera performance. Of course, we can't skip the cameras. Half of us upgrade our phones because of the cameras, and the other half end up upgrading because we get convinced by the camera marketing. The main sensor is bigger and faster, but the real star here is those two periscope telephoto lenses. You now get two real optical zoom points before digital processing even begins. Jumping between 1x, 3x, 5x, and even out to a clean 10x, the color consistency remains shockingly uniform. Skin tones stay natural, skies don't turn cyan, and shadows retain detail. Apple has worked hard to unify the color pipeline across all lenses, so instead of feeling like you're shooting with 4 different cameras, your album looks like it was all shot with one consistent device. Low light performance has also stepped up. The new stacked sensor design gives more texture in shadows and less noise overall. Apple's quiet addition of Night Capture Assist helps compensate for tiny hand movements, so even longer exposures look sharp. You won't even notice this feature, it just works behind the scenes to make your photos better. Video is still Apple's playground. The stabilization is impressive, voices are clearer in noisy environments, and even after long 4K recordings, the phone only gets warm, not hot. No dimming, no thermal throttling, and no ruined shots. That's a massive win for anyone who shoots video seriously. Performance. Inside, Apple's new A-series chip is obviously faster. That's expected. But the bigger story is how it sustains that performance. Exporting a 4K video, running a heavy game at max brightness, or even transcribing long interviews all happen without the phone breaking a sweat. It doesn't throttle after a few minutes like many competitors. This calm under pressure comes down to improved cooling and smarter scheduling. Translation? The iPhone 17 Pro is not just fast in the first 30 seconds, it's fast 20 minutes later when other devices start slowing down. Ecosystem and accessories. Then there's Apple's ecosystem. If you've got AirPods, an Apple Watch, a MacBook, or an iPad, the iPhone 17 Pro feels like the conductor of an orchestra. Handoff, AirDrop, continuity camera, it all just works. And with upgraded UWB support, finding lost devices feels like playing an AR video game you always win. For anyone deep in Apple's ecosystem, this is the glue that makes everything click together. Final thoughts. So what's the verdict? The iPhone 17 Pro isn't about one big, flashy feature that Apple wants to sell you. It's about hundreds of tiny refinements that add up to an experience so smooth and polished that you almost stop noticing the phone altogether. And sometimes, that's the ultimate sign of great design, it just disappears into your life. But now I want to hear from you. Are you the type who upgrades for the big headline feature, like the new camera system? Or do you value all those subtle quality of life improvements that make using the phone every day feel easier? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button and subscribe to ZaidiEsTech as we push toward our goal of 1,000 subscribers. Trust me, we've got more deep dives coming, battery endurance tests, camera shootouts, and hidden settings guides you won't want to miss. Until next time, this is Zahid signing off. Stay tech savvy, and I'll catch you in the next one.